Welcome to the Lander County Commission meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commissions.
This conference will now be recorded.
It's okay. All right, there. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Brian, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to have a moment of silence. All right, moving on. Lander County Commission may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. So commission reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Pat, do you have any?
Patsy?
Yeah, both Michelle and I were handling the mute button here. We got confused.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Just a couple quick ones. We did have a Chamber of Commerce meeting on the 7th. They did some extra advertising for us with some CARES money that came through Travel Nevada. Had to be spent before the end of December. We got a couple new signs. On the 14th, I had an airport advisory board meeting. We're working on budget. On the 15th, there was a Pony Express territory meeting. We did that virtual, and we are doing more advertising. You might see them. The local channels carrying it. And we have not only the Pony Express territory being advertised, but also Cowboy territory, which is the north part for Highway 80 for Lander County. Yesterday, actually, 16th, we had a NGM Community Development meeting. Bert was on that. Tyler was on that. This is the new committee that they're forming to kind of help with improving the community. Some extra funds that we have available to benefit a large amount of people is what they're looking for. So it was kind of an informational meeting. It was only our second one, and we're just putting it together. But we're getting some good ideas and maybe be able to access additional funds. That's it. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Art?
Yes. We had a pool lock meeting, the first one in many months. The only thing of significance I think that we talked about because of the COVID, there's a big slowdown, is we're getting more geothermal money. We're going up from $359,000 and change to $406,000 and change. So that's the most important thing that I've been involved in, and I want to thank everybody for the cards and spreading Christmas cheer.
All right, so I've attended the water board meetings, and the biggest concerns are the new bills that will be coming up in front of the legislature in 2021. One of the big concerns are some of the mines and the permitting that's going on that's buying some of the farmlands. And what the problem is when they do that, then those lands dry up, and then they have dirt hazards, dust hazards, and any toxins that may have been used for pest control or any of those kind of things. So those are some big concerns, and they've already had those issues, I believe, if I'm correct, in like the Yerington area. So that is some major concerns actually that some of the ranchers and the communities in those areas are looking at. There's a handful of other water bills in front of the legislature. One of them, and if I'm not mistaken, they're not sure if they're going to want to take this bill back, but it was one of them as far as each county having the ability to form their own water board. So that was something that was being looked at, but that's pretty much what I have. Ryan?
Was there any mention about putting meters on private domestic wells?
Very little. That was a blurb, and they were more concerned at that time about the watering, the dewatering from the mines, and the passage of that one. That was one of the bigger ones they were talking about.
If they do that, that's going to be big.
Yeah, so that was just a blurb within the meeting, and so that's all I have. Is Judy on the line? All right. So, moving forward, sure I've got, staff reports, meetings, conferences, seminars attended.
So, for COVID, right now, the current status, we have 348 confirmed cases in Lander County to date, 52 active cases, and 291 that have recovered. We do have 5 deaths, and we just logged our latest one, so we'd like to send our condolences out to that family. It's hit that family extremely hard, and hopefully, if anybody's out there listening, they're in our thoughts. So, then I believe everything else we have is on the agenda. I do have a plaque here for Commissioner Allen that we will try to get to her somehow, that we're going to present to her today. So, if so, it's
Nice, very
Nice.
nice.
so we will get that to her one way or another, and I'd like to congratulate JR. We look forward to working with him. So that's all I have.
Right. Very nice. All right. Moving forward for public comment for non-agendized items only, persons are invited to submit comments in writing and or attend, and to make comments on any non-agendized item at the board meeting, if any. Any discussion of these comments are at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Do we have any public comment?
Kathy, I do. This is Pat.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted a quick reminder to everyone about our Christmas star that is to light up our December sky for the first time in 800 years, and that's the passing of the two planets, Jupiter and Saturn, and it's known as the Christmas star because it's the brightest, or also the Bethlehem star. So I want everybody to be sure they're looking out the door in the evening of the 21st. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Hello, Commissioners. Jerry Annis for the record. Just real quickly, 3 minutes or less update from the Lander County Conservation District. As you know, I am your appointed representative on that board, and my position is expiring at the end of the year. So we'll need to get that position published, but I do intend to apply for another 2 years on that board. It's been very rewarding. Just real quickly, you all received a letter, I believe, from Bert Ramos in the last few days regarding your interest in potential habitat enhancement in the county, and the timing really for that could not be better. Just last night, Bert and I had been asked and to attend and did attend a virtual meeting put on by the NDOW Board of Commissioners at the statewide level, that they are actually embarking on the same type of program, in this case specifically for mule deer habitat enhancement. They have I think 85 volunteers from throughout the state representing 13 or 14 different hunt areas that will be meeting in the near future to discuss potential for habitat enhancement in those particular areas. And just want you to know that the Lander County Conservation District, through not only your help but many other agencies, is very well positioned and ready to be part of that enhancement. And I think that I honestly believe that Lander County has the ability to be a real there's some habitat, somebody's searching for habitat right there with Art. I think that they're coming in. We're just talking about it. Lander County is real well positioned, I feel, to be a state leader in this type of project. And part of that is due to willingness of your group to work with us. you should know that every other month at our meeting, we try to bring in speakers to address these types of issues, not only the issue themselves, but potential financing for these types of projects. And we're gonna have a real good meeting on February 9th, and I'd love to see a commissioner or two at our Conservation District meeting on February 9th. February 9th. We're always on the second Tuesday of the month, and the even-numbered months are a program presentation, which will be that date. We got a good program set up. So that's all I had for you. Just you'll be
Thank you so
getting my
much.
application here soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. Any further public comment? All right, gonna move forward. For the consent agenda, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately. During this meeting, consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. Item 1, approval December 17th, 2020 agenda notice. Number 2, approval of May 7th, 2020 special budget workshop meeting minutes. Number 3, approval of May 14th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 4, approval of July 23rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 5, approval of August 13th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 6, approval of August 27th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 7, approval of September 10th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 8, approval of September 24th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 9, approval of October 8th, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 10, approval of October 22nd, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 11, approval of December 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Number 12, approval of payroll change requests. Do I have a motion?
Kathy, this is Pat. You want me to take this?
Please.
Okay, actually, number 2, the approval of May 7th special budget, we did not receive those. Number 5, August 13th. Number 6, August 27th. And number 7, September 10th. And number 8, September 24th. None of those minutes have we received. So for the rest of them, 1, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, and the payroll changes, I make a motion we approve those.
I'll second the motion.
All right. So Pat made the motion, Brian second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good. Moving forward. So, for possible action to approve, disapprove the payment of bills. With that being said, I'm going to poll check number 209960 and 210108 for Brian for his employer. So can we have a motion to approve all the bills except those two?
I'll make a motion, we pay our bills.
I'll second.
So Art made the motion, Brian seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. So now can I get the approval for those two checks?
Kathy?
Yes.
Yes, I will make the motion that we approve check number 209960 and 210108. But in addition to that, I continue that motion to approve 2 more checks from December 3rd, 209780, 209852, and my motion is to ratify all 4 checks.
Very good. So can I get a second?
Second.
All right, Pat made the motion. Art second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain because they're made to my employer.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So number 2 for Battle Mountain General Hospital, update and discussion only for Jason Blake with the Battle Mountain General Hospital regarding the COVID-19 vaccine plan.
Morning, Jason.
Morning,
Good morning, how are y'all doing?
I'm good.
Good.
God.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me here today. And I'll come anytime you would like, but I'm coming today kind of as a conversation between Bert and I think the Sheriff's Department. We just need to get information out and keep everybody updated as much as possible. I do want to begin my little update with a vote of appreciation or a gesture of appreciation to Bert. He's been working really hard, and with this COVID stuff getting thrown upon him, he's been dealing with a lot of stuff, and I appreciate his willingness to ask for help. He's kind of given me some authority to kind of move and coordinate things and then touch base back with him and others. I think it's a sign of good leadership that he has shown in this. So I'll kind of start my update with a little bit about how the county seems to be doing from my perspective in COVID and in the testing and that side of it. And then I'll move on to the vaccination plan if that's agreeable. Here in Lander County, we do continue to see positive COVID cases come through the hospital. In a one-day period or a 24-hour span, I was notified of 20 new positives that came through our hospital. Now, if people went to other places to test, I don't get those statistics. But so in a 24-hour period, we did receive 20 new positive cases, which tells me that it is still running. Now, it doesn't mean every day I get 20. Some days I get 2, some days none. So it just kind of floats along there, and we do have our spikes. One of our biggest concerns right now is the whole state is feeling a crunch. As these numbers have spiked up, hospitals are seeing more patients, clinics are seeing more patients, and in this round or in this spike, many of those are receiving hospital care more than before. And so it's becoming more difficult for our medical staff providers in the emergency department to transfer patients to other places. Sometimes we've had to kind of hold for several hours while we communicate with other hospitals, just trying to find a bed that will receive one of our patients. I got to witness this not too long ago where we had a patient in the emergency room and they just kept gradually dipping down. And it took us around 3.5 hours to secure a transfer. And it's not that the other side is not trying to help us, but they have limited resources as well. I get to have a meeting with the northern CEOs 3 times a week, and I get to hear from them what their situation is. And it's not so much that they don't have the space. Right now, they've got a lot of employees that are out due to COVID and are quarantined. Just in the past week, there was one facility in Reno, if I remember right, they were reporting 40 nursing staff out in quarantine with COVID. And so that becomes, that seems to be one of the biggest problems in the state is the human resource that we're trying to deal with. But that being said, we are working really hard at the hospital to keep everybody as safe as possible. We have even instituted some home care. We know that we don't have a real robust home health service right here in Battle Mountain, and so we've got some of our clinic staff, and we're transitioning that into EMS staff that we can take care of people at home as much as possible, as soon as possible, trying to prevent them from getting so bad that they need to go to the hospital. So we've already had some great success with this, and we're going to continue to try to improve that and move that along. Now moving on to the vaccination plan. So the vaccination plan was prepared and was submitted. The state responded back that they approved of it, that it was in good order. We meet with the state, or we have a meeting that the state's involved in at least once a week, in which we have been gaining more information, more guidance, because as this vaccine came out, we were lacking in information right until the very end. And now information seems to be flowing out a little bit better. We are following a tiered approach, as suggested by the federal government and by the state. We are in the middle of Tier 1, and we have submitted numbers, preliminary numbers for Tier 2. Now, Tier 1 consists of healthcare workers, not only at the hospital, but healthcare workers through the community, also first responders, sheriff's office. It even gets into youth detention. And so we are working through those. We've been in contact with the various entities now to get commitments on who wants the vaccine. Our initial numbers that we sent in, that we had a possibility of just over 300 vaccine or people to be vaccinated in Tier 1. Our first order came the other day. We had 45 vaccines. And so we're just working through those tiers according to commitment. In Tier 2, it consists primarily of education, community support, utilities, logistics, and supply chain. Those are kind of the main areas of Tier 2. And we haven't gotten into Tier 3, but those tiers continue to open up more and more each one until eventually the public will have that opportunity to come in. Our long-term care, just for your information, their vaccinations are being handled by CVS Pharmacy. CVS and Walgreens were awarded a contract from the federal government to take care of all long-term care residents. And so they are scheduled to come in. They gave us kind of two scenarios. They'll either be in next week, the week of the 22nd, or after Christmas, if they're shooting for before the new year. And so our long-term care will have that opportunity. This first vaccine, the first batch that we got, is Pfizer. It's the Pfizer product that was given the federal approval just last week, and we did receive 45 doses. The hard thing with the Pfizer is that it comes from a minus 70, roughly, degree temperature into our facility, and we have 4 to 5 days to dispense that. If we don't get it dispensed within that time period, we have to waste it. So that makes it pretty tough for us. It is an effective vaccination. They are reporting 94-95% effective rates. So this first 45 is Pfizer. Now we have been told that next week we are expecting another shipment, but it's a Moderna product. And this is contingent upon Moderna getting their federal approvals. But we will receive 100 doses of the Moderna product. It's much easier for us to handle. We can actually freeze it at normal freezing temperatures up to 6 months. And so it gives us the opportunity to take a little bit more time, make sure we're getting word and getting everything put into place so that it's done very well. And so next week we are expecting 100 Moderna doses, and we'll see if that truly comes to fruition. Each of these vaccinations is a 2-piece vaccine. One's given on day 1, the other's given approximately day 21 to day 28.
I just missed something. I'm
Okay,
sorry to
no
interrupt
problem.
You said both of these are 2 shots?
Both of
Okay.
these are 2 shots, yes. There is word that some vaccines that may come out later on this year would be a single dose or a single shot vaccine, but these 2 at this time are 2. One of the biggest problems or difficulties in this vaccination process is not having the nurses there to give the shots. It's the tracking of everything. We have to report not only in our own electronic health record, but there's 4 other areas of tracking that we have to report to. Because this is likely to be the biggest lift as we go through these tiers. I've already reached out to Bert, and he has told me that he'll help us in any way possible, but we may need some help in the reporting side and just making sure that everything gets input into the various reporting areas in a timely fashion. Another thing that has been put out there is a phone app called vSafe. This is so that any adverse reactions, anything can be tracked on an individual basis. So once you sign up for this vSafe, they send a very short little survey out on a regular basis. Just ask, do you feel this? Do you feel this? Do you feel this? Do you feel this? Is there anything else? And then when it comes time, they will remind you. They'll give you a reminder of when that second dose needs to be taken. And it does need to be taken within specific windows. So as our pod, or our point of dispensing, continues to grow, as the need continues to grow, we will constantly be changing our operations to match the size. Lander County does a great job with the LEPC group to do the flu pod every year. I mean, you got experience, and so as these pod sizes keep getting bigger, or these tier sizes keep getting bigger, we will be reaching out to LEPC with Bert's help and also the Sheriff's Department's help. They're a critical piece to try to make this thing flow as smoothly as possible. It's going to have to be scheduled. We can't just say everybody show up at this time, because it's a little bit different process. After each vaccination is given, we have to monitor that person for 15 minutes to make sure that there are no immediate adverse reactions. I received the vaccine the other day. I can only tell you what my experience was. I didn't even feel the needle go in. Abby gives a dang good shot. And about 4 hours after I received the vaccination, I felt a little bit of soreness in my shoulder. And that soreness remained until about 10 o'clock yesterday, so 12 hours. It didn't debilitate me. I was still able to function without any problem, but that's the only side effect that I felt. Nothing too much different than a normal flu shot. I continue to check my temperature. I do all these crazy scientific things just to see what's happening, but I have not had any other sign or symptom. And I have not been notified of any other sign or symptom among the first 20 doses that were given. So we have 25 more doses that will be given before the end of the day Saturday. We have scheduled most of those. There are some that are still wavering in their decision process. If they decide not to, we'll push somebody right back up into it, because I'm not going to let it go to waste. I think that's my report. For those that want to find more information, we're trying to get more information out on our Facebook page. Pfizer.com has a lot of information. CDC.gov has a lot of information. And we're trying to get, Dr. Wilcourt did his own little PowerPoint presentation, and we recorded it. And so we're trying to get that up on the web page or on the Facebook page so that you guys can watch it. Really, if you're looking for negatives about the vaccine, you can find negatives about the vaccine. If you're looking for positives, you can find positives about the vaccine. What I'm encouraging everybody to do is look at it with an open mind and make the best decision for your individual circumstances. I looked at it, I talked it over with my wife, and I'm on board. I went forward with it without any hesitation. And so with that, I can open up to some questions.
Yeah, I've got a few questions. The numbers are 1% of the world's population has caught COVID. 99% of that 1% has recovered. The COVID is no worse, in fact, it's less worse than H1N1 as far as fatalities go. Now, on these two inoculations that you have, are you injecting genetic material into a person?
It's messenger RNA. And it's for
Yeah.
it's for the spike, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not the scientist or anything like this, I'm just reiterating what has, and it's for the spike proteins in the receptors. It's not, you're not gonna get COVID from this.
Well, I went to the clinic the morning after the presentation, and I left the clinic with an MMR booster because I was sure that what Dr. Wilcourt told me was true. So that's the way I went. If you have an MR, if you're high in MMR antibodies, you're resisting the COVID. That's why the kids aren't getting it, and that's why the people who work with kids that got the MMR boosters aren't getting it at the same rate. So,
The MMR studies have been going on. They're recent studies, and their study groups are small. And so I share that as a caveat, but they are finding that there seems to be a correlation with the MMR shot and the ability to avoid
well, the
positive COVID.
Another issue I have with these vaccines is the claim that they're 94-95% effective. Flu shots have been around for 30-40 years. They're not that effective, and I'm supposed to believe that in 8 months there was a cure done, made for a new virus, and it's 94-95%, and for 30-40 years we've gotten flu shots and they're not that effective?
I mean, piggyback off that, Art, that was one of my concerns too, is that these inoculations are not put through clinical trials the same as like a pharmaceutical drug is. So, and you had said in your report, it's like, okay, we give you the shot, we want you to monitor your symptoms, so you become the clinical trial. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah.
But actually, those trials have happened. And
Not to the
actually-
same extent as a pharmaceutical drug, not
Actually,
near the amount of time.
more, in what was reported to me, more people were utilized in the clinical studies than in normal cases.
That's false.
And they have not been able to, or they have not noted, ineffectiveness. They've found 94 to 95%. In the CDC, they have a third-party auditing crew that looks at all the results, and the FDA has a third-party auditing crew. And these are providers from wherever they may be, or physicians from wherever they may be, and they look at those numbers independently from the CDC and independently from the FDA. Now, those are the results that we've been given. That's what has been approved. I can't argue MMR effectiveness, mRNA, that's not my wheelhouse. But the information is out there. Like I said, if you want to find the negative, you'll find the negative. It's there. If you want to find the positive, find positives there. But I encourage everyone to look at it with an open mind and find what is best for you as an individual. And
You know,
we're there.
I just hope that in 5 years you don't see a commercial. If you took the COVID inoculation, you may be eligible.
Yeah. So on a little bit of a twist, I'm gonna go on, I think they've pretty much hit all the points that most people wanna hear. But one of the things I have to say, as far as the transferring out, this last weekend, my husband and I were in the Owl Club, and there was a gentleman, an older man in there, that was stuck there. And Rich had come up to us and said, is there any way that, well, actually, I think it was Friday, can you help us find? What had happened with him was that he got flown from Elko to Sacramento, has no family, and hitchhiked all the way back. He's in his late 70s, mind you, and crotchety. And he hitchhiked all the way back and made it this far. And all he was trying to do was get to Elko so he could make $8 to catch the bus that takes him to Wells. And so I, of course, the first person I always call whenever there's somebody who needs a ride somewhere is Ron. He was busy in that, and rightfully so, so I'm sitting there going, so Thomas and I take it. Was it scary? Yes, because you don't know who these people are, but it was, we took him, and that's exactly, and he had no clothes on his back when he left Elko, and so they had to clothe him to send him back, and he was in his later 70s, and he had hitchhiked all the way and made it this far, and I just thought that was just so very, very sad. And then, like I said, he did the $8. He said, and he was still having difficulty with breathing, and that he was going to try to cut some wood to get the $8 to get. And it's just sad. This whole situation, and is very sad. So yes, all the way from Elko, and he had no one there he knew, but that was the only open bed that they could send him in, and I don't know how long he had been there. He'd been there for quite a while, but it's just you know, it's just sad that, you know, the ones who are impacted, that this whole thing is just very sad.
The northern CEOs of the hospitals have been working together, and we have that meeting 3 times a week, in which we all go around the room and we say what condition we're in as far as our hospital. Our effort is to keep as many people that we need to transfer within our normal transfer routes. And so we have committed to one another that if we're getting an absolute no from all facilities, that I can actually reach out to the other CEOs and say, I need your help, we have this patient, can you get him in? And so we've opened up just that one extra line of communication between CEOs so that we can get people taken care of within our normal transfer routes. Now, our normal transfer route can go to Utah, it can go to Idaho, it should not go to Arizona. And so that's what we're trying to prevent, is an Arizona or even a California transfer.
Yeah.
We want to keep them here where they're close and in our normal patterns.
And the other thing was, I attended a school board meeting a few weeks ago where the Eleanor Lemire School kids came in and did a presentation and it was very, very sad of how lonely they were and how they want to go back to school and do work. They don't want to do, you know, they don't want to do things on Chromebooks. They want, and it was, you know, they put this presentation together themselves, and it was heartbreaking to watch them. Like, we're lonely. We want to go, you know. For one, we want to make sure we have something to eat, and if we're, you know, another, we just want some human contact. And it was, you know, this whole thing is what a disaster. So.
Kathy?
That was heart touching. You know, we need to get these kids back into a good routine that's healthy for them, mentally and physically. I mean, our little guy is just so disappointed that he can't go to recess. And those are important things to kids.
I agree.
Or did you have something?
Sounds-
Pat, did you have? Yes.
Yes, this is Pat. I have a question for Jason.
Okay.
Yes, my question is, if you get the first flu shot, good. If you get the first COVID shot from one entity, 21 days later, does it have to be from that same entity, or can you mix the Moderna with Pfizer?
No, you cannot mix those. If you start with Pfizer, you got to end with Pfizer. If you start with Moderna, you have to end with Moderna. There have been questions throughout the state that if you were in Nevada or in Lincoln County on day 1 and you got the vaccine there, and then on day 21 you were in Lander County, is there a way that you can get vaccines in different places? There would have to definitely be some communication processes because vaccines are limited, but it is possible. Everyone that gets vaccinated gets a vaccine card, and it states specifically what date, time, and what medication or vaccination was given. And so wherever you go to get that second dose, they will give you the same as the first.
Okay, so with that, my other concern is 45, will that be for the second shot, or can you use some of those for the first shot again, someone else?
No, our expectation is that those first 45 will get another second dose of 45, and hopefully, if our fingers are crossed and we're doing well, all others will be Moderna.
Okay, well, that would be good, but of that 45, say you're on the second dose. You've got 45, and 5 of those people that had the first dose no are there. So you have 5 doses left. Can that be a first dose for somebody new, or is it an entirely different type of material in that dosage?
That's a good question. Our hope is that we'll be able to connect the first dose with the second dose as closely as possible without any waste. Like I said, if we can get the Moderna product, it just is easier for us to use. And so after this first 45, I'm hoping to only have to deal with Moderna other than the second dose of Pfizer. So I don't know if I can answer that question completely.
Okay, well, no, I can see that, but my other concern is the second dose exactly the same as the first dose?
I believe it is the same. They have told us that the second dose seems to have a greater response than the first, and that's because the body is fighting against those proteins. And so this first response, we're expecting very light signs or symptoms. The second may be harder, but they're still saying that it will subside between 12 and 36 hours and you'll be fine, is what they have said.
Okay, thank you.
Jason, I thought I heard somewhere along the line with this vaccine that you get your shot and you have to go home for 2 days. You're supposed to quarantine. No?
No, depending on what your signs and symptoms are. So at the hospital, we monitor and screen all of our employees for signs and symptoms when they begin the shift. And then if they pick something up during the shift, we send them home at that point. So anyone that gets the vaccine, if they have sign or symptom that is going to prohibit them from working, fever, you start getting the runny nose, the headaches, things like that, then we'll look at sending them home at that point. But the sore shoulder, it was no big deal. And so that's the direction that we're taking. We are not quarantining for 2 days, 3 days. We're letting them work until they have a sign or symptom that prohibits them from working.
So I have a quick question. I had read an article about, because you give the little cards that said that they have received it, and so for travel, for international travel, that they're going to require that people be vaccinated before they let them into their countries. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything official. I have just heard people talking about it as they have planning trips to Mexico or to wherever they're going.
Well, I know
and
that
so,
for Japan, my daughter's in
Yeah,
Japan, and you're gonna have to have a card.
Yeah, I haven't
to
heard
get into the
anything
country.
official on that side of things, but anyone that gets the vaccination will get that vaccination card. And
The tracker, so
Maybe
you can
it's
actually
the-
leave your country.
maybe it's
So-
the ticket to whatever.
Okay, very good, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I do have one question, Jason.
You bet.
And Art, I'd like to piggyback on, because when this first did come out, that was the talk, is the 2-day quarantine. And I believe there are some locations that are following through with that. It's just, but the question I have is, where are they coming up with their percentage of successes with such a high percentage of people not catching the COVID or 99% of people recovering? Where are they getting the 90-some% that this vaccine is helping? How are they basing that statistic? What are they basing it on?
That's based on the 30,000 clinical trials that they're doing and monitoring them for hospitalization, deaths, things like that. It's not, to my knowledge, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, it's based on survivability and hospitalization. is the area that I'm aware of.
Okay.
One last question. If I were in long-term care and I refused to take this inoculation, would I be able to stay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any further questions, public comment, anything?
Perfect. Thank you
Very
for
good.
your time.
Thanks,
Merry
Jason.
Christmas to you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on. For possible action to approve, disapprove the appointment of one individual to serve on the Lander County Advisory Board to manage wildlife, which currently has one vacancy. New terms are 3 years from July 1st, 2020 through July 30th, 2023, and to consider all of the following applicants to include Larry Teskey.
Make a motion to hire Larry Teskey for the position.
So, Art made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Brian, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good.
Teskey.
Yes. All right. Moving forward, for possible action to approve, disapprove the county-funded grant program for local small businesses struggling due to COVID-19. So, I had brought this forward again, since we didn't receive any CARES money, if there was any possible way that this could be done. So I'm gonna be waiting for,
So we, as the board's seen it before, when the first time we brought this, months ago, and then I know there have been some, number of small businesses that have reached out and, talked to me and commissioners as well. The only way we could do any sort of funding for a business is if it can affect everybody in the community. So that limits your businesses, right? If the entire community does not benefit from that business, the county cannot give them funds. So
they're
that
not
brings us more or less to,
Yeah.
yes, it brings us more or less to like a grocery store or something that if you were to only have one that would benefit everybody throughout Lander County or have the potential to benefit. So it's not a super feasible program, to be fair and equal throughout the community, but I want that to be on the record for the businesses to know that we aren't just turning a blind eye to them or not willing to help. It just comes down to how you can spend taxpayer money.
Are the majority of the businesses that are affected, are they businesses or, industries that are licensed by the state, so the state has control, like, the beauty boards, gaming? So I find it interesting, right, it was this week that, the president signed an executive order to reduce unnecessary licensing regulations and expand job opportunities across America. So the statistic was back in 1950, 1 in 20 workers needed a license to work. Today it's 1 in 4. So with that executive order, my question is, if we were to basically by resolution secede from the state of emergency, right, that the governor has put us in, could we, and with this executive order that's been signed by the president, could that be some way that our local businesses could continue to function and operate?
I think that's why we agreed that we would pay the fines to keep them open and support them that way. I don't know, that's scary, 1 in 20 in the 50s.
Yeah,
1 in 4
and that's
now.
1 in 4 now.
And
You have
what do you
to
think?
work, you have to have some sort of a license, you know?
Yeah,
and on the news again this morning, they were showing, and these are the ones that are, affected a lot, are the ones who are trying to get DEETR, the unemployment. They can't even get through on the phone. When they try to get through, they just say, our queue is full, click, and basically hang up. And so all of these unemployment for these people who are not essential are kind of stuck, some are getting paid, but then some aren't. And so the ones that aren't haven't been paid from the very beginning of this, and it's just, it's one of those, what do you do? I don't know, I just wanted to bring forward to let them know that we are trying to do something, but we all also held in constraints, because I had forgotten that Ted had said it either has to be a nonprofit or it has to benefit everybody, and so.
And I will point out that most of these businesses are eligible for COVID money But like you said, the lines are so long with other businesses ahead of them, a lot of people in these rural communities felt like they could hold out. And so they weren't first in line, so now they're in the back of the line, and they're so far back that to get the money for them that they may not be able to sustain for the period of time they need
Well,
to get the money.
And then I've had some of the businesses say, you know, the information that they're requiring to get the grant money is, you know, ridiculous, and not every single one of them are savvy computer-wise, that know how to go in there and do all of that, and they said, we just gave up because we sat on a computer on a program that we didn't know how to use, and if you hit the wrong button, it won't allow you to stay and save your spot, it kicks you out, and then you have to go back and start all over. And if there's another 50 people who happen to be more savvy than you on the computer, well, then you're 50 people, you know, a person's back in the line, and the whole thing is just a mess, and it's, you know, it's like I said, that poor gentleman that was transferred, who is 70 years old, hitchhiking, you know, all the way from California. It's the same idea, you know. It's once again in these communities, and we're very blessed with mining, so very blessed. But it's the have and the have-nots, and when you have not, you have nothing, and it's just sad. So, but thank you.
You know, Brian, just a few minutes of thinking about the licensor, casino workers,
Yeah.
bartenders, they all have to have
If you wanna cut somebody's hair, you have to have a license, you know, if you're legitimate, you know, beauty business. That's what I'm saying, is you start thinking about it.
Up on us.
Yeah, it definitely did creep up on us.
Teachers, gotta
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
license.
It's overregulation, man.
All right, well, thanks. I wanted to make sure they knew that we are trying, and if there's anything that we can grasp onto that you utilize to help them, we absolutely will. So, all right. So, number 5, possible action to set dates for the Lander County Board Commission meeting to be held in January of 2021 to comply with NRS 244.085 through number 3, which states the first meeting of the board in odd-numbered years must be held the first Monday in January. January 4th?
Kathy?
Yes, Pat.
Yeah, this is Pat. Yeah, my question is, how are we going to swear in our new elected officials? Do we have to do that before the meeting? So can that be done on Monday morning too?
Did you hear? Yeah, for the new elected ones in that have to be done, can they do that first?
Yeah, I believe you do that at the start of the meeting.
We can do, yeah, Bert said that can be done at the start of the meeting.
Who get Denise? Matt, swear 'em in.
Have them sworn in ahead of the meeting.
That is correct, right, Ted?
Yes, we're gonna have to find a person to swear them in, but it certainly can be done. I don't know if the district court judge, will be available, but we can find somebody that's available, and, we're gonna have to set it up, make an appointment with them to be there to swear, everyone in prior to the meeting.
Okay, so
I'll reach out to Denise and see if we can.
Oh, very good. So then, January 4th, would that be the date?
Yeah.
So, all right, we have a minute.
You wanna set a time? Because if we have to, well, we can just swear them in at 9 o'clock.
Okay,
Okay, I'll make a motion that we have our first, meeting of 2021, January 4th at 9 o'clock.
all right, Art made the motion,
I'll second.
Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good.
Aye.
All right, moving forward. Lander County Sheriff discussion.
Commissioners, excuse me,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
this is Ted, the agenda states, meetings to be held in January. So, you need to decide if, when the second meeting is, if you're gonna have the second meeting or what.
So is he saying we need,
Okay, the second meeting would be, I think
the 21st?
21st?
Does the 21st work, Bert?
21st would be our regularly scheduled.
Yes, the 21st.
Okay.
Be
So
the,
they wanna it.
So our regular schedule, would be the 14th and 28th.
first and fourth, yes, the 28th, I apologize. The
All right,
28th is
The 28th?
the second and the
Last.
fourth, yep, the last Thursday of the month.
So do you wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that our second meeting in January will be on the 28th of January, starting at 9 a.m.
I'll second.
All right. I'll
And-
make the
Oh, sorry, Miss Denise just texted me, she would be happy to swear him in, so thank you, Miss Denise.
All right,
She's
so
on the
Denise will
call,
swear
very
him
much
in.
appreciated.
So we got
Thank you.
Art, made the motion, Brian seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you. Moving forward for number 6, Lander County Sheriff for discussion and possible action regarding the interlocal agreement between Lander County School District and Lander County for continued Sheriff's Office Resource Officer Services. Was a mouthful.
Good morning, Robert Quick for the Sheriff's Office. This is a little history. Is approximately 2 years ago, the Commission approved a school resource officer agreement with the Lander County School District, where we implemented a school resource officer full-time during the school year. That program has worked very well. This is essentially a renewal of that contract or agreement, which is expired currently. The two major changes in this agreement as opposed to the original is an automatic renewal every year, so we don't have to go to all the boards. And the option for either the school district or the county to withdraw with a 30-day notice without cause.
Okay. All right, so we'll wait a minute for Art to return. All right. Will you explain to Art the change on this one, please?
So on the interlocal agreement with these, regarding the school resource officer, this allows for a 30-day out without cause by either the district or the county, and it offers an automatic renewal every year, so we don't have to keep coming back.
All right, so I need a motion to renew the contract.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Brian made the motion, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Art seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good, thank you. All right. So, number 7, for possible action to approve, disapprove a 2-year on January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2020, an independent contractor agreement between Lander County and Swanson's, Bellinger and Plimpton as Lander County Public Defender.
Ted,
Yes, sir.
everything cool with this?
Yeah, is Kyle there?
I don't think any, there's no one here to speak on the behalf of the attorney.
I've discussed this with Kyle. I've discussed this with Hy. We've looked at the contract. You'll notice that the difference, what you need to look at in this contract is that there's certain things that the state are going to pass that the indigent defense, and this contract contemplates that happening, and it states what will happen if that happens. For instance, if these laws that we think are going to change, if they change, then money for certain things like investigation and other costs have to be taken out of the public defender budget rather than the budget of the district court. So we put in the contract a provision that allows the county to set up a budget for the county commissioner or for the public defender that he can tap into that with approval of the board or of the administration. And the second important thing in the contract difference is he's asked for $10,000 more, which I think is which is fine with me, but it's up to you guys. But it's the same contract, but it contemplates the new provisions that are going to be set forth by the Indigent Defense Committee, and it asks for $10,000 more.
I mean, so if I'm correct, right, we're paying them $130,000 per year for a period of 2 years. I mean, with that type of, when you're looking at that much, I'd be interested to know, like, how many public defender cases we've had, how that breaks down to actual hours, and then if it's that much, is this something that ever goes out to bid to try to get a better deal?
Which is an excellent question. So, is that something that can ever go out to bid, or so we can get a statistical report on how many cases they are and the hours that are spent on that?
That's our quarterly report, Kathy. That's what we've asked for, that they've really not been on the toes, and supposedly we were supposed to have the last one, because that's been my concern all along. But I have another question for Ted. I couldn't find the termination in here. Where is our 30-day or 60-day termination? Where did I miss that?
I don't have it in front of me right now, Pat. Hold on.
I don't see it either.
You know, I went over it a few times. I just couldn't find it. But that doesn't mean it isn't in there. Did anybody else remember that?
No.
Well, I mean, you do have, clause 4 that says this agreement may be terminated with or without cause by either party upon 30 days written notice. Is that what
There it
you're
is.
referring
Yeah,
to?
I think so.
Nope, you're right. I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
If we,
We went out to bid with this before, and this is the one we chose a few years ago, and I don't think we've asked anybody else to bid it again. Have we?
Not that I'm aware of, and also with the $10,000 increase and still not receiving the quarterly report. I mean, I think that they need, if it's not gonna go out to bid and they're gonna get an increase, then they need to be doing the quarterly reports as requested.
Well, I don't think there should be an increase without rebidding it. That's my
Are you
personal.
sure that they're not submitting a quarterly report?
I haven't,
They are submitting
Are
a
they?
quarterly report. They have not showed up to present it for the commission to answer questions on that report. That's that's what Patsy is referring to, her
Okay.
request for them to show up in front of the commission, and I have reached out to them and asked, we just haven't had them present.
well, we need to get them here first.
Well, it's set on the agenda today for an update. So that's why I'm surprised. Did anybody reach out to Kyle and tell him that this was scheduled?
To Trish, to Kyle's, secretary.
So she knew it was scheduled.
Yes, sir.
Well, based on the recommendation from Hy and Ted, I'll make a motion that we approve a 2-year, January 1, 2021, December 31, 2022, independent contractor agreement between Lander County, Swanson, Bellinger, and Plimpton as Lander County Public Defender, with the understanding that we will get the quarterly report and we will have at least 2 in-person reports from the firm per year.
Commissioner, could you add to that motion that he's asked to report to the commission within the next 60 days?
within the next 60 days.
Okay, and I'll continue my, motion with, we will get a report from the firm within 60 days. That would be the second.
Not get a report, get him to be in front of the board, to
Right.
explain the report.
A presentation in front of the board by the second meeting in February. That'll give them plenty of time.
Hold on a second.
You said this increased $10,000 a year?
Is that including the increase?
Well, it's the contract.
So can't we have, because I'm having a hard time with the $10,000 increase, that if they want that they come within the next meeting and do a presentation, and that, can we put it on hold till the next meeting?
I'm just not in favor of the increase.
I am not
It's a condition
either.
of the state, and so.
Whatever you guys wanna do.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to table it.
Has really been there in the past, though, isn't that right, Ted? You kind of looked at some of that too and thought it was okay.
What's that, Pat?
I said, I thought the numbers were there in our last report that we had, and you thought, I remember you making a comment about, you thought that $10,000 increase was not out of line compared to what they were doing?
That's true, and I don't think so. The Indigent Defense Committee is making the contract public defenders do a lot more work. And I anticipate in the next year or two, it's going to be substantially increased. I do not believe $10,000 for that anticipated work is unjustified.
You think it is justified, Ted?
No, I don't think it's unjustified. So it is justified.
Oh, yeah, okay,
He thinks it's justified.
It is justified. Come on, don't give me that attorney stuff.
Okay, so this is where my concern. So I have sat, as an advocate, sat in meetings, Ted, or sat in the court hearings when people are brought over where the first time that the public defender has spoken to them was at that first hearing, when they've been bound over for district court. And that's where I kind of have a little bit of problem with the $10,000, my own personal opinion. I've seen it more than once. That's the first time that they're meeting with them and they're talking to them then. And so not only that, on cases, that have to do with children, and they've been hired as the public defender, and the first time they're talking to that person is right at the day of court. And so I'm struggling with that $10,000 increase. So I don't know.
Well, Kathy, a lot of that is when they're appointed as counsel.
No, and I know that.
The new rules envision a earlier appointment because of what you're saying. But the public defender only has to show up. They're usually appointed a lot of times the day they show up. So it's not their problem. If they're not appointed, they don't have a duty to go and seek out people that may possibly be appointed to them.
Oh, no, I respect that. I understand that, Ted, but I've known where they've been appointed and still the first day of their, I don't know,
Is that pretty?
Well, actually, if all of these recommendations go through from the Department of Indigent Services, they'll have a lot more to do, and one of them is that they have to be present at the justice courts for all individuals arrested for a criminal offense. They have to be at the initial appearance. So I know
Exactly true.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of these will be going through, so they anticipate they're going to be a lot busier than they are. Did you get a second on that, Kathy?
Pardon me?
Did you get a second on Art's motion?
Not yet, because Brian was still, so I'm looking for a second.
Oh, okay, I'll second it.
You know, the one thing that I always think about anytime an agency comes forward and they make a recommendation is these are the people that they are comfortable with, these are the people they know that they can work with, and I think that's important that we have that kind of atmosphere here in Lander County.
No, I agree with that, Art. The only part of it
I
that I'm
know,
okay
I
with is the increase.
10,000,
That's
Well,
all.
and I know and I had seen that they were
20,000 over
going
2
to,
years.
that they were going to be required if this passed
Yeah.
for a lot more, and I understand, that there is going to be a lot more work, so I guess that, I would like them to be present and to show us what they're doing. I think that'd be a little easier to swallow, but, so, Art made the motion, Pat seconded it, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Hey,
All right, and then we have one nay, Brian is a nay.
yeah.
No,
All right,
So if I hit unlock, you should be able to.
okay. So,
Okay, here's our update, yeah.
okay, so for public defender for discussion only regarding an update of the third quarter from Swanson, Bellinger, Plimpton, Lander County Public Defender, so we have no one here for the update.
Commissioners, we have no one there, and I don't understand that, but in Art's motion, they have to show up within 60 days.
Okay,
And if they don't, then I would suggest that we think about terminating the contract.
okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take a 10-minute break. Thank you, Ted.
10 minutes.
Action to approve, disapprove the modification of the access easement granted by Lander County to the Maverick Incorporated. Maverick Incorporated is proposing to modify an access easement area originally granted in order to incorporate portions of the referred 60 feet access easement and memorialize, the access, the rights of both parts resulting in the cross-access easement. So,
Commissioners, if I may, basically this is just an amended easement. They still have the same 60-foot area, well, not the same 60-foot area. They have a 60-foot area, it's just moved a little more, so it doesn't impact the hospital, just the county. So it's now called a cross-access easement, but it's really just a modification of the easement we've already given them.
okay,
This is the plan this is the solution to try to alleviate the Broad Street traffic from the semis, right, Ted?
Yes, originally, the original easement and this one as well. This just changes it doesn't change the dimension, it moves the dimensions of the easement.
okay. All right, so do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the modification of the access easement granted by Lander County to Maverick Inc. Maverick Inc. is proposing to modify the access easement area originally granted in the order to incorporate portions of the reference 60-foot access easement to memorialize the access rights of both parties, resulting in a cross-access easement.
So where are they talking, Kayla, on this exactly? Is this on is this on Broad Street? They're gonna use a little bit more of that easement? Just so, I wanna make sure I'm understanding it correctly here. Are they widening it? Is that what they're doing?
Around the back, I think, so that the trucks can,
If this one right here, so the original came up just right here.
Come
It
on
just
up,
was,
Kyle.
yeah.
I wanna make sure I've got the right place too.
This is Pat. I'll second the motion.
Hold on one second,
Well,
Pat.
hang on one second, pretty please.
So this, if they have this here, this would, make them have to use part of the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So they just took this out
Oh.
and added this.
Oh, got you.
Oh, okay,
I see.
all right,
Okay, thank you.
All right, so, okay, so Art made the motion, Brian seconded it, all in favor?
I think Patsy has a, we have a
Oh, do you
question.
have a question, Pat?
Do you have a question, Patsy?
No, I voted aye.
All right, okay, I
Okay.
didn't hear you, so, all right,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
all right, very good. So, the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension for possible action to approve, disapprove the agreement between the University of Nevada Reno Cooperative Extension Office and Lander County.
So this is just finalizing that agreement that we have with them to use our building. Ted's looked over the contract and I believe everything looks right.
All right, there's,
On the pink, on the pink page, Bert, contract officer, what's the $1 million plus?
That's their insurance.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
all right, so everybody feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Commissioners, for your information, all the money that we expend comes out of their ad valorem tax money. It's their money technically.
Okay, so Brian
Yeah, I'll
made
make a motion, we approve, the agreement between the University of Nevada Reno Cooperative Extension Office and Lander County.
all right, second.
I'll second.
All right, very good. Brian made the motion, Art seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Performance computing for possible action to approve, disapprove the performance computing to mount an access point to the water tower to serve Battle Mountain internet customers better.
Commissioners, this is Ted again.
Okay,
I would ask that, and I've talked to Bert about this, that this one be tabled, so that Bert and I can meet with them. We have 2 prior contracts with PC Performance, but it's under new ownership, and there's certain things they haven't done on those other 2 contracts. We would like to sit down and negotiate all 3 contracts together prior to bringing it in front of the commission.
okay, so we're tabling this? Is that under request of the district attorney, we're gonna table this?
Okay.
All right,
I have a question for you guys before you leave. You know anything about the trailer up on top of the hill behind the gun range?
Negative. No.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You had a question?
So what do you need from us to start moving this forward?
So I believe is what the district attorney is asking is for us to negotiate the other 2 contracts that we currently have that were 5-year contracts that were supposed to be negotiated once every year. In November, I believe we spoke of this, to get them up to snuff prior to entering into another contract with you guys, especially now that it's under new ownership.
Okay. Okay, so do I need to get with Ted then?
Yeah, with myself and Ted, and we'll all come together whenever it's most convenient for you after the meeting, or if you can shoot us both an email.
Okay. Okay, I can do that. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Safe travels on these roads. All right, gonna move forward to the building department for possible action to approve or disapprove the contract with Lone Wolf HVAC and perform quality maintenance for Lander County buildings.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Anna.
These guys have been with me for 3 or 4 years. They do all the county buildings, not the courthouse, but quarterly maintenance on HVAC and heating and air.
Okay,
It did go up a little bit, but there was some more equipment that got added.
okay. No big changes. Status quo. All right,
They've been doing a good job for us?
Yes.
all right, very good. So, motion,
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with Lone Wolf HVAC to perform quarterly maintenance for Lander County buildings.
I'll second.
all right. So, Art made the motion, Brian seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right, very good, thank you. Okay.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward. So, for possible action to approve, disapprove the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit report after a slideshow presentation by CPH had B. Atkinson and Hinton and Burdick, CPA and advisors.
Are they here?
Are they here? He's on the phone. Okay.
I'm on the phone.
Okay, hello. Who do we have on the phone?
This is Chad.
All right, Chad, thank you.
If you're ready, I'll start. I don't know, I was supposed to be on the camera. I don't know if you want to see me or not, but
Just 1 second, they're still, getting stuff set up for you.
okay.
Oh, it is good, but not in this weather. I love that car. I'm gonna have to have it brought in for some maintenance, but the only one I want is Chuck. Gosh, that car's sweet. I was trying to, have Jared take my water boards, so please take those 2 water boards.
Oh,
Please.
that's my new ride.
What is that? Oh, are you kidding me? Oh my God, what year is that?
2014. Super fast.
Oh my God.
V8 twin turbo. It's a 200 mile.
Move forward. So Chad, we're ready to go. Are you ready to go?
You ready?
Oh, yeah, Lakin's ready to go.
Okay, great.
So let's move forward.
Members of the commission, it's good to be with you today. My name is Chad Atkinson, and I'm a partner with Hinton Burdick CPAs and Advisors. Thank you for allowing me to present remote today. I am hoping that in 2021 we can return to a normal situation where I can be there in person. So I appreciate this opportunity today. So I'm going to be on my slides. I'll let whoever's turning my slides let them know I'm on slide 2. I wanted to just say thank you to the county and the county staff for helping us through the audit process this year. As you know, there was some turnover in key positions at the county, including the county manager and the fiscal officer, and the transition went well, and we appreciate working with Lakin and Birds. We had some good meetings over on site, and appreciate their assistance in completing the audit. Also wanted to say thank you to Keddington and Christensen, who's contracting with the county to provide some technical service in the accounting area. What their work that they are doing is critical and needed at the county to provide good financial reports and information. So we appreciate their efforts as well. I wanted to point out, and before I go into the rest of my presentation, one item in your financial statements, which I'm told that the package with all the hard copies of the financial statements arrived. So I just wanted to point you to note number 19, which describes a period adjustment. The prior period adjustment was related to some investment accruals that needed to be done. As you know, the county has a lot of investments, and so there were some accruals on those investments that needed to be corrected from previous periods. So we worked with Keddington and Christensen on that, and were able to complete that. So I just wanted to point out that issue in the financial statements. It actually increased the county's net position, so it improved the net position of the county. Okay, so I'm going to go to my audit reports. I'm on slide 3. I'm going to cover my audit reports first and then hit some financial highlights. The independent auditor's report, which is on page 1 of the financial statements, is an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statements. On page 129, we have a report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance. For fiscal year 2020, we had one significant deficiency in this report that was resolved from the previous year. So that, congratulations to that. There was one item that was resolved. And there were 4 significant deficiencies that were reworded and reissued in this report. And I will discuss those a little bit later, just in a few moments. So my next audit report that was issued I'm on slide 4 now, was the report on compliance with statutes and administrative code. That's on page 131. On this report, we have one prior year audit finding that was resolved, and one prior year audit finding that was reissued, and there were no current year findings for that report for compliance with the NRS. Okay, so now I'm going to give you kind of a brief summary of these findings, and then certainly we'll entertain any questions. The first one is, I'm on slide number 5, and the first one is water revenues and collections. When we were doing our audit procedures, we came across a decline in the revenues of the water fund. And as we looked into that a little bit further, we found that in the transition of software that the county went through, that the meters were not properly set up in the new software. So there were a few months in which the meter readings were incorrect, and as a consequence of that, the billings didn't take place for several properties. And we sat with management and explained this and showed them the properties, et cetera, and communicated that to them. So that's essentially it looks like estimated underbillings for revenue were approximately $100,000. So we encouraged management to basically resolve the billing issues that are currently happening, and then also to look at going back and billing for those services that were provided. So that's the status of that finding. The second finding, 2019-002, has to do with the compensated absence policy payout. This is a reissue from the previous year. We have found, as we've done our audit work, that sometimes there are questions pertaining to compensated absences calculations and payouts. From what we could tell in the information we received, the payouts that occurred on compensated absences occurred with either approval from the commission on an exception or according to the policy. But it was sometimes confusing for the staff administering that compensated absence policy to know what the policy was and how they should execute the policy. So we're just simply saying to the commission here on this finding that you should look at your policy and kind of revisit it, revise it, so that it can be clear on how payouts should occur and rules take place and that kind of thing. So that was our recommendation there and our finding. The third one is 2019-3. There were credit card internal controls. We try to look at the credit card transactions as we go through the audit process each year and look for the documentation and following the county policy. We did find some instances in fiscal year 2020 where documentation was lacking, and sometimes the business purpose or governmental purpose was lacking in the documentation. So we've reviewed that finding as well. And then finally, on the internal control findings, 2016-003, creation of duties in small departments. This is an ongoing risk for the county. The county has several places in which cash receipting takes place with simply one person, and it's not always possible to separate or have multiple people involved in the cash receipting process. And so this finding is issued more to make you aware that you do have several departments with just one person involved in cash handling, which creates a risk for misappropriation or fraud to take place. So we listened to these findings, and I'm going to pause because I'm getting a little bit of an echo on my side, and I'm not sure if anybody's tried to ask a question, but I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions on any of these internal findings.
Go
ahead,
sorry. Go
This is Kathy Ancho. Yeah, I have some questions. Well, and a statement, I guess, would be, now, Bert, we've corrected the credit card. We did the policy that corrected the credit card issue, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, all right, so that issue's been done. So, on the compensation, we've also just recently taken action to correct that as well.
You're referring to the billing that we were
No,
hundreds of
the,
thousands?
Absent payout.
compensation on absences payout policy. Have we created a new policy to correct that issue?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
So we do have a policy. It is shadowed by different positions within the county that accrue leave, but don't always have the opportunity to use it. So that is at the discretion of management within that department. Some fall under elected officials, whether if that will affect their department or not by having that individual gone or to pay them out. So we really have not addressed that because it's so many different departments and it affects in different ways.
Okay, all right, and then on the water revenue, what?
We did correct that. So what that was, it was kind of multifaceted. We had taken the school, all of the ball fields that are county owned, and then the school included the football field and stuff that school owned had been moved over to that well. And so the meter was one problem. The other problem was we were billing at a different rate. So we have corrected that. We have rebuilt the school and everything should be getting on the square for that.
And so just one quick thing. The segregation of the duties for the small departments, is that something that is going to have to be handled within each department, how they're going to do that, or is that something that we can do as commissioners, how to do that?
No, I think that would be more of an individual department.
Okay.
I think would be the better way to handle that.
Isn't the big problem is like out at the dump, right? They take cash. out at
That's,
the dump.
there and the golf course
And
seem
the
to be
golf course,
the
right.
two main.
Yeah.
I think we have a solution for the golf course. We'll see when we start re-upping that contract. Now, the landfill is kind of its own animal. It's really hard to monitor how we're going to do that.
We couldn't put credit card?
Well, we have no service out there. And it's really, if you ever stop at the landfill and try to get phone service, occasionally you'll get it, but the majority of the time you won't. So we don't have a good connection to go back and forth.
If you pay your water bill on the day it's due, are you paid up?
You should be.
Well, I have found out that it's not. If you pay your water bill on that day, it may be 4 days before it's posted and you will automatically get a late charge. That's what I found out. Because if you came in on the 30th to pay your bill and there's a Monday holiday, it doesn't get posted until Tuesday, and the system automatically generates $1.97 that you don't know about that's just hanging there.
And I don't mean to fire up the bus here, but that is the treasure.
Yeah, I got a lien because there was a $1.97 floating around out there that I didn't even know about. And we came in, we paid our bill up to date, but because the system is set up that way, it automatically generates a letter that you're behind.
You must have paid it, and by the time they got the payment and then posted it, that delay in the system,
Yeah,
that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. But my responsibility should end, if I pay that bill on that day, that's the end of my responsibility for that bill. So that's something we should look into.
That comes from the treasurer's office and an issue that they're gonna have to
Yeah.
figure out how to do.
Yeah.
Now, weren't 3 of those 4 items, weren't those were findings they'd found on our last audit, right?
That's what they were saying, that, they were reoccurrent for this one.
And the credit card issue was not turning in receipts, right?
Yes.
Which we took care of too. Alright, so that's the only question I had. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
No, you asked the questions I had.
Alright, so no, I think that we're good.
Okay, great, I'll continue. There's one other finding that we need to address, and that's 2017-005. This is slide number 6. And this is the NRS issue. We've had this issue for a few years as well, where we've gone in to look at the purchasing documents documentation as far as advertising certain contracts and things like that. Found again this last year when we did the 2020 audit that we were unable to obtain some evidence of advertising and on contracts. So we're reissuing this again. I think when I talked to Bert and Lakin when we were out there, I think they had a solution kind of in mind to address that and make sure that we have all of the significant contracts for the county addressed and documented each year. So I think that's in process, but maybe there's some commentary there as well.
Yeah, so these were our landscaping and, Maryland and Desi. So we are currently addressing them as we go.
All right, very good.
They do a great job.
All right, very good.
Okay, we're going to move on to the financial highlights. And I want to just give you a moment to look at, in your financial statements, if you have them, page 18 is it's basically the change in the different major funds for the county. And the fourth line from the bottom, the net change in fund balance is kind of the change from year to year. So you can see that the general fund had a positive change of $636,750, et cetera. So overall, the total governmental funds had a positive change of $9.9 million from last year to this year. So that's positive. Also wanted to give you a chance to look at page 21. This has Battle Mountain Water, Battle Mountain Sewer, and the communication side. You can see overall the combined total for those funds was also positive of $631,000. There was a loss in the water fund, Battle Mountain Water, of $375,000. So overall, those are the changes in the different funds for the county. And now I'm going to go into the fund balances or net position. And just as a reminder, fund balance is just if you have your assets and you subtract your liabilities, at a certain point in time you have fund balance left over or net position in a proprietary fund. So I'm looking at resources on hand at a particular point in time, which is in this case is June 30, 2020. So the first slide I have is slide number 8, the general fund balance trend.
What page are we on?
This would be slide number 8, and it should be a graph showing the general fund balance trend.
No, he's just referring to the PowerPoint. This isn't on.
Yeah, I was looking for it on my report. I didn't see it.
Do you have the slides in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so the general fund balance trend, we're looking at the 2020 numbers, 20. The change in fund balance was $636,000, as was mentioned. The unassigned was down just $2.7 million from $39.5 million to $36.8 million. The assigned fund balance on this report is the fund balance that will be used in the next fiscal period. So that's fiscal year 21. The committed fund balance in this report, which is that green line, is committed for retiree insurance obligations. And the restriction, which is your bottom line, the $18,835, that is restrictions for public safety purposes that are externally restricted. So currently, the general fund has 28 months reserves on hand. And it should be noted that just after the end of the fiscal year, the county commission, I believe, committed a large portion of this unassigned fund balance for capital improvements. So that will be reflected in next year's statements, but that did occur after the end of the fiscal year. The general fund is in good shape, and I'll keep going unless I hear some questions. So we'll move now to the CCP fund. The CCP fund has a little bit of a reduction in its overall fund balance of $886,000. From fiscal year 20, there was $4.2 million in capital outlay, which means capital projects. And the major capital projects that took place were the airport complex water project and also the Battle Mountain Flood Levee Project. So these resources, as you know, are set aside for capital improvements, and that was the major expenditures for fiscal year 20. You still got 42.1 million in there for fund balance. Okay, next is Battle Mountain Water. I mentioned that the change in that position was a reduction of $375,000. This fund is a little bit different in that you report in the equity some of the assets that are used to take care of the service. So in this case, the water fund has capital assets that deploy the water and provide water to customers. The capital asset is the top line, the 22.1 million. It's down to 21.5 million, and that's just mainly because of the depreciation of those assets. Each year, those assets deplete a little bit, and so that's the reduction there. Your restricted amount, which is deadline of 1.7 million, is a restriction that was set up from a grant project that occurred in previous years. It's called the AB 198 program, and those are required reserves to have on hand, and that's the balance you have at the end of fiscal year 20 is 1.7 million. The unrestricted was up just a little bit from the previous year, and that's your middle line on this graph, and that was up 124,000 from last year, and this is 26 months of operating reserves. You have 26 months of operating reserves in your unrestricted. So in good shape there. All right, so the sewer fund, if you go to slide number 11, the sewer fund had a positive change in its position for an increase of 994,000. The net investment in capital assets went up from 13.5 million to 14.9. That was due to an increase investment in the 72-acre wetland at the wastewater treatment plant project. The restricted amounts of 5.2 million is the county option sales tax reserve, which has stipulations on how that money can be spent. Some of that was utilized during fiscal year 20, so that went down from the previous year. And then I've also got the unrestricted showing here of 5.9 million up to 6.7 million, and that includes, if you looked at the reserves in this fund, there's 88 months of operating reserves on hand.
How many months? 18.
88.
Oh, 88.
Okay, so then the last slide I have, and then we'll go to some questions. I'm sure you've got some questions that I may not be able to hear as I'm talking, but cash balance trend is the last slide. And you've got your governmental cash is up 6.3 billion, and the business side of cash was up just 15,000. So overall, the cash balances are stable from previous years. And now I'll ask. I'm sure you've got some questions, and I'll try to be quiet and listen.
Did we get hit by the COVID, do you know? Financially?
We looked at the COVID impact when we were out on site. We talked a little bit about that with Tom Gransberry, who's been assisting at the county. And Tom was looking at the projections that the state puts out, and he was seeing a little bit of a fluctuation. But the projections were looking pretty good, given even with COVID happening. I don't know if those have changed since we talked. That was a few months ago, but I think there will be an impact. I'm not sure how delayed it will be, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Say thank you.
Any questions? I don't have any questions. We're good.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Well, thank you for letting me present, and again, thanks to the staff. And I'll turn it over to you for approval and submission to this for the state, and thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2019-2020 audit report after the slideshow presentation by CPA Chad B. Atkins of Hutton Burdick CPAs and Advisors.
I'll second the motion.
All right, Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm wondering in that motion whether we have to include that we approve the letter of, from our county manager with our plan of corrective action. Does that have to be in there too?
Ted?
It's in the audit this year, Patsy. Usually we don't put it in the audit. We do it later, but I just did it. I included it in the audit this year, so you're.
Oh, and I see it stated today, so that's why I wondered whether it should be part of the motion.
If it's included in the audit, it's not usually put there, but since it is, you certainly may do that.
It was inclusive in my audit, Pat.
Yeah, it was included in there.
You guys do have to sign it though, so I don't know if that's what Art's referring to, but.
Okay.
So I'm good, Ted?
You're good.
Okay. Vote.
All right, so Art made the motion, Brian second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward. For
Hey.
some,
Should we go back to number 8?
okay, we can. We absolutely can. We're gonna move back to, number 8. For the, public defenders discussion only regarding the update, for the third quarter from Swanson, Ballinger, and Plumpton, Lander County Public Defenders. Good morning. You're on.
Thank you. I guess first of all, apparently there was a mix-up in when I was supposed to be here. The county manager had let us know that 11 o'clock was to be when it would be presented. And so that's what we had on our calendar was 11 o'clock. So apologize if it went before that and I wasn't here, but we were shooting for 11 o'clock. And so I appreciate you coming back to me and allowing me to speak on behalf of that contract. There were 2 items, I believe. One was the contract and one was to field questions regarding previous accountings and reports that we had submitted. So which did the county commission want to start off with?
Commissioner, excuse me, this is Ted. Kathy, you should probably open up number 7 too, if you have any, and I anticipate you have questions about the contract, so you need to open up 7 as well as 8 simultaneously.
Okay, so then, Ted, since that was voted on, does it have to be re-voted on, or is it for just discussion only?
For discussion.
Okay,
If
just
you
so I-
want to
so I
discuss it,
understand. Okay,
just
very good.
reopen.
Very good, all right, for the discussion, for the 2-year, for January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2022, independent contractor agreement between Lander County and Swanson, Ballinger, and Plumpton, as Lander County Public Defender for discussion only at this point, so. You're on, Brian.
So yeah, my concern was the increase in the contract
Mhm.
amount, and I just was looking for like, why are we asking for an increase? Cause I didn't see any numbers that would justify an increase, so
Okay.
that's one of the reasons we asked you to come.
Okay, that's
in.
fine.
Yeah.
The increase is from 120 to 130. And what I went through my mind in assessing that is 2 things. Number one, cost of living. I have to maintain an office here and staff, obviously, in Battle Mountain. So that was part of it. The other part was there have been some changes in the last year or so regarding public defenders and some criminal prosecution statewide. The Nevada Supreme Court last April indicated that individuals who are charged with a misdemeanor spousal battery are now entitled to a jury trial. I've already done one in Pershing County. We haven't had one yet in Lander County, but defendants now have the right to have that happen. Bench trials in those situations usually take about 2 hours. jury trials take about 2 days. One in Pershing County actually took almost 3. So they're much more lengthy, and I have to allot for that looking into the future as to what my time requirements are going to be. I put that in as one of the justifications for the increase. A third one, and you may have noticed this in the contract, I believe it was in the second page, third page of the contract under section 10, and that is the Department of Indigent Services for the state of Nevada. It's a department that's existed for many years, and there's been some statutes that have regulated what they are to do, but nobody's really done anything. And suddenly, and I'm not sure why, now they are energized, they are activated, and they sent out a packet, probably a 50-page packet of new rules that they are suggesting for all indigent defense services in the state of Nevada. It has been through the Legislative Council Bureau. They've made some modifications. It's my understanding is going out for public comment here shortly, and many of those regulations may indeed be adopted, some of which I highlighted in my contract. Certain ones are going to require more time on my part. For instance, and I'm not sure how familiar you are with the justice court and district court system, but one of the requirements is that the public defenders be present for all first appearances. That's not required of retained attorneys. It's never been required anywhere in the state for any attorneys, but they are looking into requiring that for public defenders, which may require justice court to install video conferencing. I know Judge Fortune does not like that idea. She's kind of resistant, but if it's a requirement, it's going to have to happen. They're also asking for on-call public defenders if I have a conflict. If I'm busy in a trial doing something else, an emergency comes up, I have to appoint an on-call public defender to take my place. I'm not even sure who that would be, because there's nobody else in Lovelock, Winnemucca, or Battle Mountain that would do this. There's possibly some attorneys in Elko that would, but those are also things that I'm going to have to allot for in a contract. Now, that's not part of the 130, because that hasn't happened yet. But I wanted the commission to know that that could be happening, and we may have to discuss this again as we get into 2021, if indeed Indigent Services adopts some of these rules. It's going to have potentially a dramatic impact on the amount of time that I have to spend in representing these clients. But that's not part of the 130 as of right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not on that part.
All right.
So, go ahead and.
Thank you very much for working here.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, guys.
Yes, so then are we gonna go
And
ahead and?
I would like to apologize, you guys. We did, my office did reach out, so I apologize. I wasn't aware of that, so the 11 o'clock thing, that is on us. I just reached out and apologize to the commission as well.
Appreciate
Did
that.
not mean to put you guys on the spot
I ran
and
here as quick as I could.
or to make anybody look like we weren't coming through or on your guys' end, so.
All right,
Well, we've
thank
been breaking records on time here at these meetings lately.
you. Good.
So then we're gonna go on to the report. So number 8.
Okay.
All right. So in the past, cause I'm not sure what, that I've seen as far as you guys coming forward and doing a report on as many cases and people that you've had to take on. So, and I know it was a concern of Brian's to know who and what are we paying for. So if that's
Absolutely.
something that you could let us, like how many people are you representing in Lander County, and just so an idea of what we're paying for?
Well, it's variable, obviously, and especially this year. This has been a strange year, as we all know. Beginning of the year when the pandemic hit, there was a decrease in cases, and that was in all through the Tri-County area. In fact, I know in Humboldt County, the undersheriff there said specifically, we are going to use a lot of discretion in arresting because we don't want people in our jail, contaminating our jail. And so there was a lot of looking the other way, I think, when people committed fairly minor crimes that didn't happen before. So I think that's part of the explanation for why in quarters 1 and 2, I hope you have the documentation in your packet, but there were a reduction of cases the first half of the year. 11 in the first quarter, 12 in the second for adults only.
We don't have a copy of that in our packet, so.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Kathy?
Yes?
Yeah, this is Pat. So do you have the report in front of you now?
No, not yet.
No,
We're working on it.
we're getting it.
Okay, be sure and fax one down to us.
Absolutely.
And we've only supplied year 2020. I feel like we should have brought 2019 so you could have seen a little bit more clearer numbers on what our averages are. But 2020 being unusual, you can see in the third quarter though, it does pick back up to our normal pace. I would say our average is somewhere in between 26 to 35.
And the fourth quarter hasn't been reported yet, because we're not through the end of the fourth quarter, but as of right now, we're up to 37 brand-new cases?
34.
34 brand-new
34
cases
as of
in this quarter alone. So it's
Yeah, it's
more than
right
tripled
back up.
since the first quarter of the year.
And that's in Lander County?
That's
in
just
Lander
Lander
County.
County.
Yeah.
You know, on a personal level, my son's estate was taken over by a different attorney about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years. And his fees, and I got all the documents that he filed, his fees accumulated over $20,000.
For a state.
Yeah, and, 9 years on this one issue, and then, an attorney is assigned a case for 2 years and $20,000 in attorney's fees? Wow. Attorney is expensive, folks.
Yeah.
It should be on your,
It is.
your way, Pat. Thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to steal that from you.
You don't have any juveniles this quarter.
We've only had 4. Yeah, it's been they're pretty steady.
50 cases in 1 year?
That's just,
Well, that's through the third quarter.
yes,
Um,
that's
like
not
I s-
including the 34 new cases.
And that's just adults too. If you'll go down that list, the minors had been 12, we've got 4 more this quarter, so,
Making it 16.
so 16 juveniles this year, and 84 so far and counting adults.
Are we seeing a decrease in the drug court returners? No, good.
Well, when you say returners,
Oh.
what do you mean by that?
Well, they go through the program and a year later they wind up back?
There's a small percentage, but it's not a high
Okay,
percentage.
Good.
Yeah.
So the program's working.
I would absolutely say so.
For most people, it does.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the best thing we got, certainly in Rolling Valley.
Absolutely. It makes a huge impact on our community.
Good. All right. It's nice to see these numbers, because it's,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
When you say guardianship, is that like CPS stuff, or is that divorce?
Oh, no, it's not private guardianships.
It is usually child
It
cases.
tends to be with, what we call 432B cases, which are child protection cases. It's when DCFS, Division of Child and Family Services, gets involved, takes over legal custody of children, and often you have guardianships as a result of a final disposition of those cases, when the children cannot be returned to their parents because the parents have not made reparations in their situations. Guardianships are often the final resolution.
And we had 12 in a year?
No, not this year. No.
No, that's for minor juveniles underneath that. The one for 432B guardianships is only
Oh,
one.
I think I might
Okay,
have. I'm so sorry.
And
Oh,
those tend
okay.
to
Yeah, it's
last at least a year usually, because the judge gives them up to a year. I mean,
Yes.
those are a minimum
It's
a year.
12
for those
months.
four
Both federal and
correct.
state law says you have 1 year to get your
Mhm.
children back, or else termination of parental
And
rights,
most of the
or
time, you guys spend
guardianships.
the entire year,
Yep.
for the majority of mine, that part I do know, so.
And in our previous years, we usually averaged about 432B cases a year, but since the AG's office has kind of taken over a lot of that, and with COVID slowing down our social workers, we really haven't had too many this year, sadly.
Well, and on that
Well,
though,
I don't know if you must say sadly, but-
unfortunately, and this will be my soapbox for the 432B hearing that has nothing to do with you guys. It's hard to get, anything done.
Yes.
Before, so it can even come in front of a judge.
Yep.
So there's so many more cases of that don't even get a chance to come in front of a
Yes.
judge to have the children have representation, and that's very sad, so.
That's correct. Yeah, there's,
Soapbox for the
That's
day,
my
but-
feelings of it as well.
that law has
So-
changed. There's a lot more, safety plans that are done than used to be, which would keep it out of court to get the parents back on track before it gets to court. Usually we just filed a petition from the start. That doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, very good. Thank you, guys. Has everybody got their questions answered? Thank you, much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And do we want them back at the end of February, the last meeting in February still?
Well, I think since they've been here, we were good for the next quarter, whenever their next,
Yeah,
remember, we
so-
have them in line to come back.
Yeah.
Just the update.
Yeah, we did have a motion that included you to come back, the second meeting in February, because we didn't know you were coming. But we would like you to come once every quarter, or
That
at
was my
least have
understanding.
Trish come every quarter.
Yeah.
And let us know.
Yeah.
It's sad that we had one CPS issue, but when I looked at that form and I thought that we had 12, that's a travesty.
It's usually about 4 at most a year.
No,
Okay,
very good.
thank you
All right,
very
Thank you.
So you'll wanna have, another meeting with me in April after the first quarter?
Yeah, first quarter.
Okay.
Please.
All right, very good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Kathy?
Yes, hold on,
Yeah,
guys.
let me clarify that, because Art just asked them to come back every quarter, and our motion said for twice a year, right?
We covered that, Patsy.
No, didn't you just now say you wanted him back every quarter?
The motion said to come back the second meeting in January. We did not know that he was gonna show up today to give a presentation. So what we've discussed here is to come back the beginning of April.
So do we need to change does the motion need to be changed?
Okay, but what I'm saying is, that, yeah, I understand the first part of the motion, but didn't we say that you wanted him there twice a year? That was my clarification.
No, I don't
In the
think so.
motion.
No. Are we good, Ted?
Yes, the motion said, had the caveat that he had to, report in front of the commissioners within 60 days.
Okay.
He did report after the motion today, so he has satisfied that caveat.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ted.
So are you good to go? Pat?
That wasn't my question. My question was twice a year or a quarter.
He said it.
You just said I want you back every quarter.
Did you get that, Pat? The motion didn't say anything about twice a year. It said within 60 days, and since they are here, they have filled that obligation.
You there, Austin?
Are you guys there? Did we lose him?
Yeah, we're here. No, my clarification was I thought we asked for them twice a year. I understand the 60-day one. That's cool. But I was just clarifying how often we wanted him back. That's all.
Okay, whatever the contract says.
I think you guys just asked him for quarterly.
Just quarterly.
We've asked quarterly, and I think that we've covered that, and I believe that the firm understands what we've requested.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, guys. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move forward for Summit Engineering, update from Summit Engineering regarding the Austin Town boundary realignment. That's number 14.
Happy holidays, County Commissioners and Lander County staff. For the record, I am Larry Gruby, a professional land surveyor for Summit Engineering, its chief parametrist, and its IT director. Hello, my name is Nathan Costin. I'm the assistant planner and engineering intern here at Summit Engineering. Basically, what I want to do, I've actually got a little presentation here instead of wandering on and on. From the very beginning of this project, Lander County was to provide confirmation of ownership in lieu of preliminary title reports, which would have been cost prohibitive. We were also led to believe that parcels showing no ownership were most likely the ownership of Robert Dean's Resources, Fountainhead, possibly controlling the displays would please put up 2020_12 assessor composite map.jpg.
Okay, and can you speak up a little bit, because we're having problems hearing you?
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have that JPEG up?
Yes.
It's basically a picture of composited assessor maps that were sent to us by Donna Steinmetz. Basically, the areas that you see to the lower right on the JPEG as you're looking at the screen, those were we were originally told those were property of Lander County and are the parcels to the very top left of the map. Everything in yellow is vesting under Bob Hughes. And then if you look down kind of at the lower left of the map, you have other Hughes ownership that's in other names other than Austin Resources. Now, the minute we saw this map, if you look at the kind of the top right, you'll see kind of a pinkish area that I believe is Mineral Survey number 57. We questioned the ownership on that, and it turns out that that is indeed Austin Resources. The quitclaim deed is only for the two antenna sites. Director Byrd, if you're listening in, are there actually two physical antennas up there, or is there just one?
Bert, he's asking you a question.
Okay, that's okay. We can answer that question later. At any rate, I requested Nate here to recontact Donna a few weeks ago regarding that area that was shown to be Lander County, which we now know to be used. We then got referred to Lander County subcontracted base mapper Nancy Truba, and after she looked into it, those areas shown as Lander County to the southeast and to the northwest, in other words, the lower right of the display and the upper left of the display, are almost certainly still federal land. And it's based on the bounding to unpatented mineral surveys, which we now have to go out and locate the old stones and the posts for. I'm still going through the downloaded field notes from the USBLM. So we were additionally contacted by the head cadastral surveyor for the BLM. We had sent him, or we had sent the head of the U.S. Forest Service for the area a email basically stating that the disincorporated map of the town of Austin was binding on the federals per council advice from Council Steve Bauer. They did not. We just basically said, okay, we're being told you're bound by the map. And they didn't respond to us until a few weeks ago, and the head cadastral surveyor is basically saying, yes, those are federal lands, so that's why we have to, we agree, and Nancy Latruba agreed, and that's why we're eliminating them from the subdivision maps. At least 3 of the 8 subdivision maps that we have in progress are impacted by those mineral claims, so it is necessary that we go out and do the surveys for that. I do believe we will be able to complete the rest of the subdivision maps of the town by our March deadline. However, I was informed by Donna Steinmetz a few weeks ago that the county is just now getting around to confirming all ownership of parcels within the town of Austin. So what I'm anticipating we will have to do is where the county cannot currently confirm ownership, we will just leave that name off the subdivision map. It can be written in by pen later on, So that's pretty much it. I'm going to basically show the commission now what the subdivision maps we're working on. As you may recall, Tom Gallagher suggested that we do merger and re-subdivision subdivision maps instead of the parcel maps, which Jan Morrison had advised us that would require state, would require more state regulation. In my looking at NRS, I determined that we didn't have to get involved, and Council Steve Mollett and Kyle, I believe Kyle agreed that no, we don't have to have state signatures for these merger and re-subdivision subdivision maps. This allows us to do a lot more parcels at a time. We also don't have to do things where we do one parcel of some parcels and then have to re-parcel other parcels, because on a parcel map you can only do 4 parcels. Subdivision map as many as you want. Anyway, if you would put up a display that is virtual, basically starts out with virtual map 1, I believe, is that correct? Sheet 1. Virtual sheet 1 on the display, let me know when that's up.
I think it's up.
And give me a second, I gotta bring it up on my screen too. I'm gonna.
Yes?
Did you say that you had to put up?
Yeah, while he's bringing that up, could I ask a clarification?
Sure.
Okay, Larry, I'm a little confused over what you just said. You said, I understand the expediency of the subdivision map, but I thought our contract was for parcel maps so that people can get title insurance to the new parcel line.
Commissioner Wright, there was no real definition at the beginning of what direction we were going to go. That was basically the process we figured out. We did our first map and only map was an MRPM, merger and re-subdivision parcel map. The issue with doing merger and re-subdivision subdivision maps is we felt at the beginning we would have to get reviews and signatures by NDEP and Water Resources, which would have extended the length of getting a subdivision map out by even more months. I basically went through NRS and then referred it to council as to whether the commission had the power to basically not require signatures of NDEP and water resources. That was confirmed to me. So we are doing a merger and re-subdivision maps, and based on what you see here on this first display, we're basically working from the outside on the northerly, westerly, and easterly side inward. You can see at the very tip of the lower right-hand part of the display, those are areas that we now know to be federal, and we have to determine where they are before we submit the map. Did I answer your question, Commissioner White?
Well, kind of, yes, but where there's areas like where we gave up a road and gave it to the property owner, to the parcel, and then they gave up a little bit for us to do something else, I mean, how will that show up on subdivision maps?
Commissioner White, it doesn't really change. It doesn't really change the process. It's just that a parcel map's limited to 4 parcels. A subdivision has no limit. It's just normally with the subdivision map you have to have state approval. And And we discovered per NRS we don't have to do that. And we didn't have to really redo very much. We just consolidated. We haven't changed any parcel boundaries that we've shown any of the property owners. We just consolidated the maps.
Okay, but how will the property owner have good title if we don't address that somewhere with what the new measurements are that we gave them or that they gave up?
It's still the same process. They still get a conveyance deed records right after the recording of the subdivision map.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, same process, just we're able to do more parcels at once. So we consolidated the maps.
So do we have anybody that has any more questions?
We will be dropping off updated maps when we come out for the mineral survey, or copies of the updated maps. So anybody from Austin, hopefully that's going to be within the next few weeks. Just keep in touch with Michelle at Commissioner Waite's office as to whether we've dropped off updated maps.
Okay, be sure and coordinate that with our office ahead of time so that we can have anyone here that wants to be. Okay? Don't just come and leave.
Would you like us to go through that one display we have up?
No, that's not necessary. It's just that when you come, be sure and give us a heads up so that we can have people here that need to ask the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Waits. Is there any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
No, I'm good. All right, looks like we're
Okay,
good.
thank you, County Commissioners and public staff.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
All right, moving forward to the planning department for possible action to approve, disapprove the adoption of the resolution 2020-16, providing a renewal of the membership through the interlocal cooperative agreement and authorizing membership through the Northeastern Nevada Regional Development Authority. All right.
And just for the record, there is one change to this document. We added in the back there, approved as to form and legally, Theodore C. Herrera, the Lander County District Attorney's signature line.
Okay.
That was added to the document after it was in your packet. So I'm just stating that for the record.
Okay.
Well, the part that was added was the signature line.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's what I said.
Okay, this is Pat. I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really confused by the resolution, and I'm looking at the last one, but those are just minor corrections that we did to make it look right. My understanding is Sheldon there?
Yes, he is.
Okay, good, because the whole point of this amended resolution is to renew our contract with NNRDA, and I thought the idea was to take Pershing and Humboldt off. And I see in the first whereas they're not on there, and actually in his cooperative agreement they're not on there, but the rest of the resolution refers to them on there. And so I need a clarification, I guess.
Okay, this is Sheldon Mudd for the record, Director NNRDA, Madam Chair, Commission. Thanks for having me this morning. So I'll clear up a few things. We may have, so as far as let me go back. So as far as the resolution goes, we provide that template for those communities and counties who want to do it. It's not required. You can do it, you don't have to. Some like to do it, others don't. So we offer that template up. Now, at the time when we sent that, it likely still had Humboldt and Pershing County on there. So if yours
has that. That's a mistake on my part. We didn't update that and send it to you. The purpose of the interlocal agreement today is simply as you know, the interlocal agreement establishes us as a legal entity. And so that's how we operate. Under NRS, those have to be redone every 5 years. Our last interlocal agreement is dated September 2016, so we're due in 2021 for a new interlocal agreement. Thus, what you have here this morning. The question came up from Commissioner Sparks. I thought we were adding Pershing and Humboldt County. No, Pershing and Humboldt County are not on the 2016 interlocal agreement, and they have chosen not to move forward with NNRDA from 2021 moving forward. So they have been left off of all those documents. So the interlocal agreement you have now should include Lander, Elko, Eureka, and White Pine counties and those incorporated cities therein.
The only issue is on the agenda, it has a resolution stated in there. So Ted, to adopt the resolution, so the motion to be read in would have would have that even though it's incorrect. So then does this need to be redone?
If you want to read the resolution in, the resolution needs to be redone. But the agenda itself is by adopting the resolution, you would be authorizing membership thereby to the Northern Nevada Regional Development Authority. That's how it was written.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
So, whether you read, if you don't want to read the resolution in because it's not correct, you can certainly make a motion to adopt it when it is corrected and adopt the Northern Nevada Regional Development Authority and have whoever needs to sign it, sign it.
Yes, I see the cooperative agreement is correct. Like I said, it has rather Humboldt and Pershing off. But I also have a concern with the 5 years that we keep doing. I think with where we are today, we're making so many changes so quickly with development and everything, and then the COVID mess. I really don't like the idea of going 5 years with NNRDA. I would like to see that shortened.
Well, I'd like to see the language in front of us and discuss this again, and I'd like to know why 2 counties dropped out. I'd also like to know what programs NNRDA has brought to Lander County in the last 2 years and what their projection is for as long as we decide to stay with them. I agree, Patsy, 5 years is a long time right now.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, so Sheldon Mudd, once again for the record, so within the interlocal agreement, counties are authorized to leave at any time in that. You're not committed to 5 years. This is just simply the agreement that states that we are going to be an organization for the next 5 years. If Lander at some point decides they want to resign from NNRDA, simple resignation letter does the trick, and that's outlined in there.
No, it's a resolution that we have to do, yes.
Right, we'd have to adjust the resolution.
And so since it's incorrect, do we?
Bring it back
We need to bring it back in our next
January.
meeting in January and make sure we have everything correct.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Okay. That's
So
the
yeah,
end of that.
sorry, yeah, I wanna make sure that we have
Okay.
everything correct, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd prefer we had
Okay.
those adjusted.
Alright.
So I didn't realize we had the older one there, so
Yeah,
it is what it
alright.
is.
That's okay.
Very good, so yeah, if we can work with, Bert's office to make sure that we have everything correct.
Absolutely.
Forward. Thank you so much.
Roger that. Thank you.
We all operate at agency warp speed.
Yeah. Okay. No, we need the correspondence reports for future agenda items.
When we do that, we also want to be sure that we have Lander County in there, because if you look at our agenda, it's under Planning Department, and that kind of looks like the Planning Department was actually doing it. It's Lander County.
Okay. Very good. So, you're on.
anyone, for correspondence, we're on correspondence, correct? If anybody would like in Lander County the vaccine, I know they do have a couple extra doses. Jason just notified me, so if you guys would contact me so we can start putting a list together of people that may want it, if they have an extra dose, to be in tier 1 before tier 2 starts. Just throwing that out there.
Thanks for the offer.
Bert, for future agenda items, I wanna see your contract, I wanna see Donnie up, I wanna get you guys hired on. And I had one other one, but I forget what the heck it was.
Do you have anything?
I guess that's it. I wrote it down.
Patsy, do you have anything?
I'm just wondering if we're putting something together for DESI locally for ski construction.
Yes.
If the DA redid the contract, then we can get that back on.
Yeah,
I am doing that now as we speak.
So do you want that as an agenda item in January then?
we're hoping to have that on the 15th agenda, or the 17th,
Yes.
whatever day that is. So, yeah, it's a work in progress right now.
Okay. We don't have the 15th anymore, but okay. Thank you.
4th or the 20th?
The 28th, because we canceled the 15th day, I apologize. The 28th agenda, Desi's contract will be.
Nope, I'd just like to tell the staff, all the county employees, all the patriots of America, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Brian.
thank
I
you.
say the same thing.
One other item that you guys might consider is at some point we might consider, and I know that this is a little bit of a hot topic, but we're coming up on a year now for our being in a state of emergency. We went through all 4 seasons. It might be something to consider us putting back out and talking amongst everybody in the county to decide if we're gonna continue in that.
Yeah, I sent that editorial to you. Did you see that editorial that they wrote on White Pine? Martin?
Yeah,
So
the
Kathy?
resolution.
Yes, Pat.
I have one more question, and I know when we first hired Bert, that we do that under 6 months? Does that have to come before us again?
Yes. Because we're at 6 months in January.
That's what Art said, Patsy.
Yeah. Bert and Donnie. Get them hired full-time.
Did you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Very good, just making sure. All right. Are we good?
I think
A motion to adjourn?
so. Make a motion, we adjourn?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
What?
Public comment? I'm sorry, did you miss that?
Yes, public comment, please, sorry.
Hearing no.
Hearing none.
Okay, well, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everybody.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. Let's have a great 2001.
Look